Hey guys, welcome to London Players Guild. Today we are finally looking at set 7 spoilers. I know we had a bit of a delay, but we're going to catch up everything this week. So look forward to the further videos as well. We're starting off with the red-green Saiyan Saga spoilers. So we're going to be looking at all the cards that are either with the tag of Saiyan Saga or that depict an artwork from a Saiyan Saga from red and green colors. We're going to have a few slides here showing up different, I want to say, themes that are incorporated in it. So let's just get started. So first things first, we're going to look at the leaders that they showed. Both Saiyan Saga leaders are green. So first one is Raditz. On his unawakened side, when this card attacks a leader card, your opponent chooses one card from hand and sends it to their warp. And activate main. Once per turn, you can look at up to 5 cards from the top of your deck and add red or green Raditz, Vegeta or Nappa among them to your hand, shuffle your deck, and if you added a card to your hand, you discard one card. When he awakens at 4 life or less, you choose one of your energy and switch it to active mode, and that's it. He doesn't draw any cards, he doesn't get any more advantage like this. On the flip side, he still has the effect when he attacks the leader, your opponent warps a card from hand. And once per turn, you can choose up to 1 red or green Saiyan cards in your battle area, and it gets 5000 power for the duration of the turn. So first things first, it's a very unique leader that warps cards in your opponent's hand. It needs to attack the leader, but I still think it's a very good control leader. It's a very slow leader. Ideally, you want to awaken you want your opponent to awaken before you. So your opponent's at 15,000, you're at 10,000. Every time you attack, they don't get a card from your attack, and they still need to get rid of a card from a hand. So it's going to be affecting the cards in hand. It works on the other side as well. He untaps 1 energy, which can open some additional plays. I think he has a limited awaken ability because otherwise he would be too powerful. He doesn't draw any cards, he doesn't create a card advantage that way, but he can actually create a very powerful swings. And the second leader is Son Goku. So we have 1 villain and 1 hero. The Son Goku leader is a green Son Goku leader, so the first thing I think about every time I see that is defeat Kamehameha, which gives it critical. So when this card attacks a leader card, you draw 1 card, and it awakens by untapping 1 energy and drawing 1 card. And on the other side, when he's awakened, is a Kaioken Son Goku, training complete. You can't send cards from drop area to warps, so you can't overwhelm, in other words, or minus Killy Zone as well. Anytime he attacks, you draw 1 card, so not only when he attacks the leader. He has burst 7, which means that if you want to activate this effect, you need to mill 7 cards from your deck. This is to work with one of the cards we're going to be showing later, which is the Kaioken Son Goku Super Rare. But we're going to go to that when we talk about the heroes. When your opponent attacks with a card, you can negate that attack, then negate this skill for the duration of the turn. So it's a negate that you can use having no cards in hand. Of course, you can't negate something like 12 Drop Whis or Victory Strike because their attacks still can't be negated, but it helps fuel your drop area. Also, once per turn, when your life is at 1, choose all of your opponent's battle cards with blocker and KO them. This is again to support the multicolored Kaioken Son Goku. The leader is not very strong. The front side is alright. We've seen a lot of leaders like this in the past, when you need to attack the leader to draw 1 card, and then on the awakening they usually untap 2 energy. This is untap 1, draw 1. The negate effect is really not good. It's for 1 card gaming, and you really need to have it in hand before you will start using this effect left and right. And the chance that you will just mill yourself by accident, or you will mill all of your super combos or anything like that, is ridiculous. So I don't think Son Goku is going to see any play. I think Raditz has more chance to see play, and also both leaders are green, so both leaders can use Paragus, which is insanely strong super combos. So that's additional kudos to both leaders, actually. To both leaders. Now we have an unlikely duo. So this is the first time where Son Goku and Piccolo started working together. This is a Saiyan Saga. This is when Raditz came to Earth at that point Piccolo and Goku were still enemies. So, Unlikely Duo Son Goku is a free drop 20k that requires 2 green. When you play this card, you look at up to 7 cards, from the top of your deck, and choose up to 1 Earthling or Namekian among them and add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. I think that this card is obviously designed to search for Piccolo or some Earthling support. I think this card might actually be really good in Pan, as in multicolored Pan, the red-green Pan. I think this card might see some play. Because he's green, and then you can play some red Earthlings like Everybody's Polyamsha, who doesn't require to search for red Earthlings as far as I know. So there is some synergy there, and Son Goku can actually search him in the top 7 as well, if you didn't have him on turn 2. Next one is a counterplay for red. So each color in this set so far gets a free drop counterplay that costs 1 less if you have a multicolored card in your energy. So Max Speed Kaioken Son Goku, cost 3, has 15,000, requires 1 red. Counterplay, play this card. Again, costs 1 less if you have a multicolored card in your energy. When you play this card, you choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards and give it minus 10,000 for the duration of the turn. Then if it's your opponent's turn, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards and it gets minus 5,000 for the duration of the turn. So the card is strong because you can play it during your turn for 2 and give something minus 10,000 and then possibly kill it. But you can also play it during your opponent's turn and it goes around deflect because it does not... The counterplay effect doesn't do anything besides playing this card. It's the auto effect that does something. And you can also choose 2 different targets. So you can give one target minus 10,000 and another target minus 5,000. So you can actually turn off multiple threats in one turn or kill multiple cards in one turn. And then you are left with 15,000 attacker that can still hit hit the leader. Next we have our first super rare. Piccolo, Special Beam Cannon Unleashed. So he costs 4, that's 20,000, requires 2 green, but if you have a green Son Goku card with 20,000 power, which is Unlikely Duo Son Goku, or the Kaioken, 20,000 power, exactly 20,000 power. Probably there are other Son Gokus, green Son Gokus that you can use this with. And you don't have this Piccolo in your battle area, you can play him from your hand for free, which... Essentially, you can play him on turn 3 rather. When you play Unlikely Duo Son Goku, you can actually get him from the top 7 cards if you don't have him in your hand yet, and then you can play him. And his activate main, once per turn, you choose 1 Son Goku card with 20,000 power or more in your battle area, and place it in its owner's drop area. Choose 1. You choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards with, with an energy cost of 2 or less, ignoring barrier, and KO it. If you KO the card, your opponent chooses 2 cards in their hand and places them in their drop area. Or you choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards without any restrictions but does not ignore barrier and KO it, and nothing else. So you can kill your Son Goku with 20,000 power or more. It doesn't need to be green. So with Raditz Leader you can, for example, play Max Speed Kaioken Son Goku, use the Awoken Raditz Leader effect to give the Kaioken plus 5,000. If you already have Piccolo on board, then you can attack with that Kaioken Son Goku and then use Piccolo to send him to send that max speed Kaioken to the drop area and get the Piccolo's effect. I don't think Piccolo on its own is that strong. I think it's more of a gimmick card. I don't think it's going to see an awful lot of play. And next we go to the biggest bomb in the set that we've seen so far, I think. So it's a Kaioken Son Goku Defender of Earth. That was when Son Goku used first Kaioken against Vegeta. So this is a whooping 7 drop that requires 3 green and 2 red. It has deflect, so your opponent's counterplays don't really do anything against him. The usual energy exhaust for multicolored cards. And if there are 20 or more red or green cards in your drop area, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 2, so you can play him just for his required cost, which multicolored cards actually make it easier to achieve. When your life reaches 1 for the duration of the turn, this card gains triple strike, dual attack, and can be KO'd by opponent's skills. This effect is only applied during the turn that your life reaches 1. Triple strike and dual attack is obviously good, can be KO'd, is really good. Shugesh explosive is not a problem, for example. But now we come to the most powerful effect. Kaioken Son Goku really wants to be played in the defensive deck, and the reason for that is you choose activate main, choose 1 card in your life, add it to your hand. Your opponent reveals their hand, you choose up to 1 card from it and send it to their drop area. And then Kaioken gets 25,000 power for the duration of the turn. You will see that there's one thing omitted from this effect, and that's once per turn. This effect can be used multiple times a turn. So essentially, if you play Kaioken Son Goku, Defender of Earth, when you have 8 life, you can take 7 life, discard 7 cards from your opponent's hand, and attack your opponent with 200,000 triple strike dual attack that can't be KO'd. So this card has a very, very high ceiling, but it's also a card that you first wither down your opponent and then you win the game. That's essentially that simple. Going on. Fatherly Love. This is an engine that I actually quite enjoy. So the first card for the engine is Son Gohan, Momentary Awakening, which is a green 1-drop that has 5,000 power. And when you play this card, you look at the top 7 cards from your deck, choose up to 1 green Goku among them, and add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. So the cards you can search is the Kaioken, the 7-drop Kaioken that we've just seen. There is the Unlikely Duo Son Goku that also can be quite useful. And there's one more multicolored card that we're going to be talking about in a moment. And actually you want to have this card on board when you play the multicolored card. This is a decent card. It has multiple targets. If you play if you build your deck accordingly, it's going to be a really good card. The next card is Wilderness Training Son Gohan. When you play this card, you draw 1 card. It's essentially Majin Buu from set 1 for red. It's nothing else, nothing really special. Beside that, it's Son Gohan Youth, it's a Saiyan Earthling. We have a father figure Piccolo. When you play this card, you look at top 7 cards from your deck, choose 1 Son Gohan Youth with cost 2 or less among them, and add it to your hand. So essentially you search for those 2 1-drops, at least from this set. I have not looked how many other targets there are, but this looks like those are the 2 best targets you can have. And then Son Goku and Piccolo, Budding Friendship. This is a 2-drop that requires 1 green, 1 red. It's multicolored card that has 10,000 power. The usual energy exhaust, and has Alliance red and green. So if you don't know what Alliance does, when this card attacks, you may activate this skill by choosing 1 or more red or green battle cards in your battle area and switching them to rest mode. So to activate Alliance, you need to rest at least 1 of your cards. You can rest multiple, but if you don't rest at least 1, you have not activated the skill. This card gains power equal to the total power of the cards switched to the rest mode by the skill for the duration of the battle. So if you switch another 10,000, it's a collective power. So essentially it's like partner attacking but on 1 card. And if you switched a Son Gohan Youth, which are the 2 Gohans that we just shown, to rest mode with this skill, you draw 2 cards and Goku and Piccolo get critical. So ideally you charge 1 of the colors on turn 1, play 1 of the Gohans, maybe the green one to get this Goku and Piccolo, or maybe just the red one because you already have the Goku and Piccolo in hand. The next turn you charge the other color that you haven't charged, turn 1, play Goku and Piccolo, attack, rest Gohan, draw 2 cards, and this is 15,000 critical minimum if you had a Gohan into Piccolo. that looks like actually really decent engine. It's a very cheap, very aggressive engine that helps you with deck thinning. I'm not sure if Piccolo would still be played in this engine, but the idea that he can search you the cards, I think it's going to be really good in pre-releases mostly. Because those cards, so the green Gohan is uncommon, and then red Gohan and red Piccolo are commons, and Goku and Piccolo are res. So if you're lucky on your pulls, this is actually a really good engine for the sealed play. Now we go with the backup. Backup is going to be other Earthlink cards. So we have Kamehameha Blast Yamcha, which is a 4 life or less super combo for green leader. We have Krillin, which is another 1 drop 10k vanilla. I think there's not that many for green, so that's another one. An interesting card, a card theme, because this card is so far for every color. So for Strike Tien Shinhan. When you combo with this card and your leader card is green, you may choose one card from your hand and place it in your drop area. If you do, you choose one of the effects. You either choose up to 3 battle cards with cost 3 or more and power 35,000 or less in your drop area and place them at the bottom of your deck in any order. Or choose one battle card in your opponent's drop area, return it to your opponent's deck, then your opponent shuffles their deck. So if you're playing against a Resurrection deck, which might exist in the future, this is a good way to get rid of that something from the graveyard, from the drop area, sorry. And if you're playing against an Overwhelm deck or against a combo deck on Mira or something like this, very easily you can just get rid of that card and shuffle it back into the deck if Mira player needs that Towa in the drop area, for example. The plus of this card is you don't need to use it during your turn. Minus of the card is the same as it is with Dangerous Journey Bulma, I think it was. You need to target cards with cost 3 or more. It's a good thing you can't target something that has more than 35,000 power, so you can't target secrets. You can't reshuffle them back into your deck. Again, as mentioned, this type of a card exists for every color, so it is going to see quite a lot of play, I think, especially if we're going to see more Mill Nemba, because now every color, not only Shinra leaders, but every color can now use something anti-mill. And the last card is Chaozu, Desperate Measures. It's a very simple card. It costs 1, has 1,000, it's an Earthling. When you place, you can place this card in its owner's drop area and choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with cost 2 or less and KO it. It's efficient removal. It is searchable because it's an Earthling. I don't think it's very good because we don't have that many good 2-drops that are being played. That might change in the future. You can remove Android 8s with it, I guess, against the Vanilla Coup. But the card has some uses. I don't think it's going to be a mainstay anywhere. Although, unlike 2-star Ball, it is actually a colored card that you can use to charge into your energy. So I think on that regards, it might actually see some play. Now we go into the villains. First is a card I'm not really happy about. So it's a 1-drop Raditz, Saiyan in Arms. It has cost 1, has 4,000 power. When you play this card, you draw 1 card. Then it has Activate Main. You pay 1 red and 1 green, and place this card in its owner's drop area. If your leader card is a green Saiyan card, choose up to 1 Vegeta card and 1 Nappa card with energy cost of 2 or less, and exactly 10,000 power from your deck. Send them to your warp. Then shuffle your deck. At the start of your next main phase, so your next turn, after you draw and charge, play all the cards sent to the warp by this skill in your battle area. Problem is, right now there is 1 Vegeta that's a target. It's in set 1 or 2. It has a revenge, and it can't be attacked by a leader. And the other card that's a target is a Nappa, which is Nappa the Cultivator, which costs 2 green, 10,000 power, and activate main. Choose 1 card in your hand and place it in your drop area. Choose up to 1 Cyberman from your deck, play it, then shuffle your deck. Cyberman is another one of infinite metacoolers. You can play any amount of those in your deck. Cost 1, has 4000 power, is a blocker, and when this card is KO'd, you choose one of your opponent's battle cards with cost 1 or less, and KO it. It's a simple blocker. A Nappa could be used for the deck thinning, but I don't really see it happening, because for every Cyberman you want to play from your deck, you need to discard a card. Unless there's going to be some synergy card, I don't think this Raditz should be a super rare. I don't think this card is powerful enough to actually take a slot of super rare. Because right now you have only 2 mediocre targets for his effect, so he himself doesn't do anything. Although he's searchable with the leader, or pseudo-searchable, because in the top 5 cards only, I don't think this Raditz or this engine is good enough, unless we're going to get a really good Vegeta that costs 2 or less and has 10,000 power. Because remember, this card can't search for Vegeta BR, which takes a lot of targets away from it. The last card from the buddies is a combo card for Raditz leader. So it's a 1 cost activate battle. If your leader card is a Raditz, it gains 15,000 power for the duration of the battle. You can use it even if Raditz is not battling, of course. You then choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with cost 2 or less and KO it. So this card essentially puts your leader high enough to start dealing damage or do some removal or something like this, but it can also remove your opponent's battle cards even during your opponent's turn, which I find really useful. I'm not sure if you would play many of those. It is 1 cost 15k power, so it's good for defensive, but there are better defensive cards you can play as well. So I'm not convinced on Double Sunday. It's definitely a card that's going to see some play, but I don't expect it to be a lot of play. Next one is Royal Lineage. So here we go with Last Resort Vegeta. I have 2 cards here because they're very closely tied to each other. So Last Resort Vegeta costs 3, has 10,000 power, requires 1 red, and has Deflect. When you play this card from your hand, and your leader card is Raditz card, so it needs to be specifically Raditz, you may choose 1 card in your hand, place it in your drop area. If you do, choose up to 1 Power Ball from your deck, activate it, then shuffle your deck. And the Power Ball is a field card that normally costs 3, but you can also play it for free with Last Resort Vegeta, and normally you would not want to play Power Ball other way around. When you play Power Ball, you can search for a green Great Ape in your deck and add it to your hand. And it has also Activate Main ability, when you can switch it to rest mode, choose 1 red or green Saiyan in your battle area and give it plus 5,000 for the duration of the turn. So it's the same effect as Raditz leader has. The card it searches, it's only 1 card for now. It's Great Ape Vegeta Energy Manipulation. Now this card, half of the card is an effect box. To summarize what the card does, you never pay its cost. If you have Powerball in the battle area and you don't have this ape on board, you can evolve it for free onto a free drop Vegeta. It can be red, it can be green. You can just put this card on top. When you play this card, you activate this skill, and until end of your opponent's next turn, this card can be KO'd by battle or be removed from the battle area by skills. So it can be KO'd, it can be removed until end of your opponent's turn. So it's a very powerful card removal. And then when this card is placed in a drop area from a battle area by a skill, so either by reduction of power or being KO'd, or there's another card that can help with that. You can choose, you may choose 1 red card and 1 green card in your energy and switch them to rest mode. So you pay a red and a green for this. If you do, choose up to 1 Vegeta that is both red and green from your drop area with cost 6 or less and play it. So this is, you can essentially play a super rare Prince Vegeta, which is, you need to play multicolored 6 or less Vegeta. That's essentially what it does, but it needs to die by skill, it can't die by battle. Here we have Yajirobe lying in wait. The card is with Royal Lineage for a simple reason. This card exists only as an enabler for the Great Ape Vegeta. It is a 2-drop that has 5000 power, and when you play this card, you can choose up to 1 Vegeta card with cost 6 or less in the battle area and place it in its owner's drop area. You can use it to get rid of your Great Ape Vegeta to activate its effect, or you can use it defensively against the either Great Ape Vegeta or the multicolored 6-drop Vegeta. Speaking of which, Vegeta Saiyan Elite. It's a 6-drop that normally has a requirement of 2 green and a red. It has double strike and energy exhaust. Once per turn, when this card attacks, your opponent chooses 2 cards from their hand and sends them to their warp. It's simple as that. It has a double strike, so when you attack ideally into the leader, your opponent gets rid of 2 cards from hand, but also draws 2 cards from life. But also it has activate main once per turn only. God bless. You can pay 1 red and 1 green. And if your leader card is a green Saiyan, you deal 1 damage to your opponent. I think the design of this combo altogether is really nice because you really only need to get Vegeta. Because Vegeta activates Powerball, Powerball searches Ape, Ape goes on top of Vegeta. Then with any effect you can kill it. You can, because this effect only requires... Last Resort Vegeta requires you to have a Raditz leader, which makes this combo a bit worse. But outside that, you can play, for example, a set 1 Broly that would force you to get rid of your Great Ape Vegeta, so you can play Vegeta Saiyan Elite. That can actually be a combo. And that actually might be quite an interesting deck. I think Vegeta Saiyan Elite is powerful, especially you can play multiple of those if you set up your field right and you discard a certain amount of them. Because Great Ape Vegeta sadly plays them from the drop area. So it is a bit more difficult to do. But then you can just sit on Vegeta Saiyan Elite and pay 2 energy every turn to deal 1 damage to your opponent. And then you attack. They obviously don't want to take the damage because then you can finish them off with the effect. So they warp 2 cards from hand and then they need to out-combo. Luckily, Vegeta Saiyan Elite is only 20,000 power. I think if it was 25,000, it would be a bit more difficult to deal with, because then you would need a super combo and something else on top to stop his attack. Right now, a super combo does the job. And now some utility cards. So Raditz, the Oppressor, and Urgent 8 Kami. Apparently my English is not very good. Are exactly the same as the Borgos. So when you play them, you draw 1 card, and once per turn when your opponent switches energy to active mode using a non-awakened skill, you can choose one of your opponent's energy and place it in their owner's drop area. So now we have 1 of those for every color. I'm not sure if we should expect 1 of those to be for black, but black color is expected to be self-sustained, but we'll see that on Friday. Next is the 2 new counterplays. Both of which 2 new green counterplays that I really like. I didn't know where to fit them anywhere else, so they ended up here. Hidden Power of the Saiyans. I think it has its niche potential. I'm still waiting on the ruling on the card. It's essentially counterplay when your opponent declares to play a battle card. They may choose that for that card to not enter the field and go into your opponent's drop area, or otherwise they may choose to discard 2 cards from hand. I'm curious if you can choose to discard 2 cards in hand if you have less than 2 cards in hand. If you cannot, that should be answered in Q&A. If you cannot, this card is way better in the hand control with a green leader than any other counterplay, because it can stop anything from entering, and like Preemptive Strike, it doesn't have a cost requirement. And the other one, if we're talking about the cards that are restricting your opponent's hand, is Vegeta the Cruel. It works similar to Max Speed Goku, in the way that it's 3-drop, requires 1 green, 15,000 power. It costs 1 less if you have a multicolored card in your energy. And its counterplay is play this card. When you play this card during your opponent's turn, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards with cost 4 less, KO it. Then your opponent chooses 1 card in their hand and sends it to their warp. So essentially, if your opponent plays something with deflect but no barrier, you play this in response, you KO what they just played, and then they need to warp a card from hand. Essentially, you net yourself an advantage and you put a body on board. I think the card is insane, to be fair, because it gets rid of 2 cards at once. In the worst case scenario, if you played it against Urgent 8 Kami, for example, they still draw a card from their auto, but then they lose Kami and they lose the card that they just drew, or rather any card from their hand, but one of the cards that they drew is then they lost the card from hand. So I think Vegeta the Cruel is going to see a lot of play, and it does not require green or red leader. It does not check the leader. That's why I think the card is going to be really strong. The last card is the new green negate. It's a 1-cost green negate for the greater good. Counter attack. If your leader card is green, you negate the attack, then choose up. The other effect is not really that strong. You choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost 1 or less. Oh no, 1 exactly, and KO it. So it's full power energy from set 1 that checks the leader. But it has a second effect as well. So if this card is in your drop area, you can activate it by paying its energy cost and removing this card from your drop area and 1 green card from your hand from the game. So what's going to be confusing to a lot of players, remove from game and warp are 2 different things. So those are 2 separate piles. So if you remove this from game, you can't bring it back with the micro leader, for example. Also, you can only activate a card with this name once per turn. So you can't negate with it from hand and then negate with it from the drop area. Those are all the cards. Oh, sorry, I should also finish up. I think this type of negate exists for every color. I think some of them will see play, mostly red one, but it's generally a good option against certain decks, like for example 7-drop Gogeta. Sadly it checks the leader color, so you can only play the 1, but if you are 7-drop Gogeta, you still have that 1 negate that you didn't need to draw. You can draw any card in that color, which I think is brilliant, and I think that's going to be a good answer to that. So far from all the negates we've seen, the red one is the best. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comments what is your favorite card. And we're going to be back tomorrow with the next set of cards, which is going to be the Broly Saga. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please check out our other videos. Also remember to like and subscribe, that really helps the channel. And if you want to help the channel even more, there's our Patreon in the description. Take care guys, and thank you for watching.